Hey, welcome everyone to another episode of the FitFam podcast. This is Miss Natural Olympia, Hilary.
And this is Doug the Formulator.
And today we have the great opportunity to continue our series of What's Up, Doc? And we actually have...
I feel like you need a carrot.
I do need a carrot. What's up, Doc? But we actually have another one of the absolute top holistic doctors in the nation. He's a good friend of ours, him and his wife.
Yeah.
And,
I am so excited to talk to Dr. Tay today. Welcome, Dr. Tay.
Thank you for having me join you guys.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit. As a medical doctor, it's a little bit different to have someone with your background and knowledge, more in allopathic medicine, be one of the top holistic doctors, in the nation, having the MD designation. Could you start by telling us a little bit about your history? And I'm even curious about, how you got into the holistic natural side of medicine.
Well, a short background of myself. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and in 1990, I moved to United States. My first stop is in Chicago, where I spent my 3 years residency in internal medicine. Then I did a year of endocrinology fellowship. Then I moved down south in Alabama, lived there for 3 years. Then I moved to Las Vegas, Nevada in 1997 and has been living there ever since. As far as how I get into holistic medicine is I started straightforward allopathic medicine. So what was not taught to me, I don't believe it existed. But unfortunately, I follow every protocol, every guidelines that were handed down generations to generations, and I noticed patient not getting any better. And my health is also declining. And despite taking all the recommended prescriptions, unfortunately, not only I'm not any better, and my numbers continue to get worse. It came to a time when I have myself screened for heart disease, and I'm just a setup for heart attack. I have clogged arteries on different parts of the coronaries, and despite taking 2 or 3 cholesterol medicine, and I'm miserable. I have horrible side effects, and I just felt that I need to go to a different directions. That's when I decided to go into holistic medicine, and ever since there's no regret, and in fact, it extended my work as a doctor. Previously, because I'm feeling so bad, I wanted to retire.
Wow.
But ever since I learned holistic medicine, I continue to practice as long as I can.
I love that. What a great personal story for people to be inspired by. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, okay, we've been talking a lot about gut health and probiotics, and we know that we need to eat fermented foods. We preach that all of the time. We know that we need to take the probiotics, and we have great ones here at OHS. My question is more for the people that are doing that. They're taking their probiotics, they're eating the fermented foods, and yet they're still getting sick. They're still having gut issues. So I just want to know more about biofilms. Can you kind of educate us?
Sure. My first experience with biofilm was way back in the late 80s when I'm still a medical student. And when I have an experience seeing patients in the hospital and treating them for infection, I noticed that my superior will not only recommend antibiotic, but they also recommend enzymes. Like, for example, if we are faced with someone with pneumonia and sinusitis or sinus infection,
Uh-huh.
not only they will recommend antibiotics, but they will also recommend to add enzymes. At that time, I don't know anything. I just follow everything my superior said and no questions asked.
Yeah.
Right. And now I realize over the years, I noticed that a lot of chronic conditions are biofilm related. And that's the reason why in the past, when we started giving patient antibiotic, it was easy to get rid of the infection. But now, over the last few years, when we notice giving them antibiotic, we have to give more than one round of antibiotics, sometimes 2 or 3 rounds. And we just don't have a guideline. No one um mentioned about biofilm uh, until Doug asked me to take a look at the biofilm. And little did I know that biofilm plays an important role in our health.
And so let's kind of maybe simplify it for people too. I loved your explanation in one of our big doctor seminars where you stood up and just explained it. And it was after we had already explained it a bunch of times and people just weren't getting it, right? The doctors weren't understanding. And you gave such a beautiful explanation, and I'm going to butcher it so you can clean it up. But basically, it was that the friendly bacteria and the pathogenic bacteria are alive, and the bad bacteria want to live just like we want to live. And I love the explanation. So what they have been able to do over time is construct this little dome over them so that the antibiotics can't get through and kill them. They created this force field, almost like kind of an Avenger type situation where they created this force field, and that's what a biofilm is, this dome over the bad bacteria that's protecting them from the antibiotics. And I love that explanation. And it led us into a lot of research because of what you said about very specific enzymes destroy that biofilm and be able to allow then the other probiotics and treatments to kill the bad bacteria. What are part of that am I missing, or you can maybe expand on a little bit about the specifics of breaking down that biofilm?
Absolutely. But first, let me simplify the definition of biofilm in another way. Well, biofilm, we know there are aggregates of microbes or assembly or consortium or mass or clusters of microbes. When we talk about microbes, it is not just limited to bacteria, but it also can be made of fungus, parasites,
Mm.
amoeba, like Giardia lamblia, like Entamoeba histolytica, like you understand what I mean, weeks ago when we discussed about this, and also even even viruses, even COVID virus.
Wow.
So these are aggregates of microbes. And what does these microbes do or bugs do? They secrete slimy, gluey substances. They stick together and often on to a surface what they call a matrix, like you already mentioned, like some kind of a force field. I call it um, a um, a fortress that's impenetrable. Why does this happen? This happen in order for their survival of this bacteria. Why? Because they are facing hostile environment. What are example of the hostile environment? Our immune system, our antibiotic. When we try to nuke this microbe, the only way for them to survive is to stick together, form a force field that is impenetrable. Because if they exist alone or a free flowing state, they get killed easily. But if they create this force field, they are 1,000 times more resistant to antibiotic treatment and the immune system. What is so worrisome is it's just like building their house where they live in, and they multiply. And when time comes, when they mature, they start secreting poisons and toxins and they spray it outside their cell. What happened here is it will prevent our immune system to go after them. So what happened to our immune system is they go after our own normal cells. So it is also one of the reasons why we develop autoimmune disease.
Wow.
Incredible.
And so that is just amazing. In fact,
It's a
you
great
explained it better
explanation.
than I've ever heard it.
Yeah,
Thanks
such a
for doing
great
that. So let's talk about protease.
Right. Well, first we'd like to know the composition of a biofilm. All right. A biofilm can be as small as 5 micron to 200 micron. So when we analyze them, what are they made of? They're made of complex carbohydrate, complex protein, complex fat, and also DNA and RNA. So the studies have shown the only way to destroy biofilm are enzymes. Without enzymes, we cannot destroy their force field. And if we cannot destroy their force field, what will happen? They become very resistant, they multiply, they invade, they act like cancer cells. All right. And eventually they can kill the host, which is the patient. So not only we use proteases, we also have to use other enzymes such as cellulase. That's why when I look at your product, optimal digestion and optimal acute, I can see you put a fruit salad type of enzymes. You put all of them together for one reason, is because you cannot just give proteases and not give other enzymes because it is made up of different types.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. I think that's really the key. For years, even my original mentor, Dr. Edward Howe and Stan Bynum and them, the great biochemists, would always say, look, take your digestive enzymes, the protease for protein, amylase for carbohydrates, lipase for fat, cellulase for fibers, all those things together, and take them when you eat food to digest the food. But you're missing out on optimal health if you don't also take them between meals, because then they can get in the gut to be able to clean up everything, the undigested foods. But to think that those undigested carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are the biofilm, that is phenomenal, because mentally, like, oh, I want to take my enzymes between meals
Right.
so I can destroy that biofilm.
Yeah, for sure. And it makes sense why people, get sick more often and they're just shook that, the antibiotic didn't fix them.
It's not that easy. You can give them truckloads of antibiotic, but if you don't destroy their hiding place, their matrix, unfortunately, it will not get in there and kill them.
Perfect.
So, one of the things that's interesting is, some people get biofilm, some people don't. And I think you've kind of already answered a lot of the question. If we're not overeating junk foods, the carbs, the proteins, and the fats, we're not giving them the matrix. We're not giving them the building blocks to make the biofilm, right? It's that
Yeah.
overconsumption of foods, overconsumption of calories.
Yes. And you emphasize live food. Why live food? Because they contain digestive enzymes, they contain proteases, cellulase, lipase, amylase, and other nutritious product. Not only the enzymes, but also the cofactors like those zinc and iron. They are critical.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One thing that just kind of popped in my mind through this too is how great we have felt since we started doing a 72-hour fast every once in a while.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Just cleaning out the system.
Yes, and we let the old cell die, and if the cell die, they release all the nutrients, so other cells will be nourished.
That's cell senescence, right?
Yeah.
That is great. Well, man, I tell you, just even the additional way you explained it today, I am more excited about your talk in September. And I wanted to invite everyone September 26th through 29th to come to the Super Seminar at the Rio Hotel in Las Vegas. Dr. Tay, we have had to pretty much, twist his arm to get on stage there, because he's used to just talking to, the fellowship of the doctors and that. And he's agreed to speak to the public. Now, this will be the first time you've actually been speak to this larger group of the public about like
Yeah.
biofilms and that. Yeah.
Yes.
So what an honor. What an honor.
Such an honor. And I think you might be my top one that I'm going to hear from. So I'm so excited to listen to you.
Well, thank you. I'll try my best.
Well, so what can the public and the health professionals look to expect when they come to hear you in September at the Super Seminar?
Well, United States has the best healthcare system in the world. Unfortunately, we are very poor in treating chronic conditions. If we don't include biofilm, if we don't respect biofilm, how it can harm us, then we will never be able to put a dent on chronic conditions. And it is very unfortunate that the healthcare burden caused by biofilm can be as high as $11 billion.
Wow.
And up to 500,000 mortality or death can be related to biofilm.
Wow.
So, man, just to come here, the action items that people can take to be able to eliminate biofilms at a high level and get that motivation is more than enough reason to come to the entire
Absolutely.
weekend. But
sure.
man, we're so excited for that, Dr. Tay. I think that just your knowledge and your commitment to the holistic health field, that energy and that vibrance, every time we're together in places, we just feel that from you. And there's something to be said about you can pretend to care, but you can't pretend to be there. And so if you want to have more of Dr. Tay, you're going to hear from Hilary, you're going to hear from, Dr. Ben Hardy, so many great people. Please sign up. The link's below in the comments to come to the Super Seminar, put on by BrainTap and OHS in September, September 26th
Through the 29th.
through the 29th.
Yep.
And so, Dr. Tay, thanks so much and for sharing your information. I know you have such a huge schedule for everyone that wants your help, and it means a lot to us that you'd come on today. And we really look forward to seeing you at the Super Seminar in Las Vegas in September.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to that.
Thank you.